Hi everyone, today I have a very practical video about how to break free from the voice inside your head. I want to talk about a question that I get asked quite often. How do I stop identifying with the voice in my head? I will outline my step-by-step process to stop identifying with your thoughts. I'm going to give you a core meditation practice that will help you let go of thinking. I would like to also explore how to handle the fear that arises when you let go of thoughts. When we're identified with our thoughts, there's a sense of kind of a safety or security, a superficial sense of safety and security. We think that if we stop constantly thinking and trying to control every aspect of our lives, that things are going to spin out of control. And actually, quite the opposite is the case. I would like to quickly mention that I have a free ebook, and you can access it in the description below. The details are there. And also to stay to the end of the video for tips if you have an extremely busy mind. Okay, let's move on and explore both how to let go of thoughts and how to relate to the fear that arises when we do this. If you consistently practice with what I outline here, your identification with thoughts will slowly ebb away and finally dissolve completely. When we let go of our thoughts or disidentify from them, we're no longer controlled by them. We think that we're controlling life by thinking all the time, but we're actually controlled by the mind. And it's not the thoughts that are the problem. Don't get me wrong here. It's rather our belief that these thoughts are true and that they represent who we truly are. So we're not trying to get rid of thoughts. Very key. The practice is to see that these thoughts arise without our consent, quite randomly, without control on our part. We do not control our thoughts. Hope you've seen this in your meditation practice. When we let go of our thoughts, we can sense into our essential nature that's prior to thoughts. We can tune into that which knows that thinking is occurring, yet is not involved in the thinking. It's not caught up in the thinking. It's not identified with the thinking. So the first step is to see how thoughts create the illusory self and illusory sense of reality. Ask yourself, who are you before the thoughts about who you are arise? What is the reality of yourself before the thoughts arise? What would your fears and desires and resistances be before the arising of thoughts? Can we really sense into how thoughts create our entire personal egoic reality? And this is the key first step. We can directly see the central capacity of thoughts to create this illusory self. So that's the first step. The second step, we can directly see that we cannot control our thoughts. Trying to control thoughts simply makes them worse. It exacerbates them. The more we resist or fight thoughts, the more restless the mind becomes. So resistance to thoughts only makes them worse. And we can see this too in our daily lives and in our meditation practice. And this is the important second step. Once these two aspects are seen clearly, we can begin to slip out of our identification with thoughts. We can become awake to the knowing that is prior to thoughts. And this is the third step. This knowing that's often called consciousness, awareness, presence, essential being, lots of words are used. It's always and already there. It's just clouded over by our identification with thoughts, our identification with the thinking mind. And we can acknowledge this silent presence that's always there. We can see how it's free from thinking, but knows that thinking is happening. So it's not entangled in the thinking, but it is what knows what's occurring. We can start to see more and more what we really are before the filter or the veil of the thinking mind. So the practice is to step back from thinking and continuously, repetitively bring your attention to that which is prior to thoughts. We're simply collapsing our identification and fascination with our ideas, thoughts, opinions, beliefs, and so on. And in this process, identification with thoughts becomes weaker over time. We start to feel freedom, free really from this conceptual prison that we have put ourselves in, that we find ourselves in. We start to realize that the happiness and peace that we long for can never be found in our thoughts. These 3 steps can be practiced in any moment in our lives. And meditation provides a really powerful opportunity to cultivate this capacity. Have you noticed that when you sit down to meditate with the intention to be still and calm and quiet, that the mind often jumps off into incessant chatter? Have you noticed this? It's in this constant movement of planning and judging and commenting on everything. And it pretends and believes that it can control life by being constantly moving. It pretends that it can see who you truly are. Can you see through this facade? Can you see through this illusion? Can you see that you are not this voice in your head, but rather you are the knowing of the voice? Can you have no interest in the mind, no fascination, regardless of what it says? You may be thinking that, I've heard this before, but how do I do it? I keep hearing that I need to step back from the content of my experience and rest in the silent, still presence or in awareness. But I still have this busy mind that pulls me away. You've probably heard all this before. I'm going to give you a little additional thing that you can try. Try bringing thoughts to the center of your attention rather than trying to distract yourself from. Bring them right into the center. You're less likely to become lost in the thinking mind if thoughts are actually at the foreground of awareness. Now notice that there is an aspect of yourself that actually sees, it knows that thinking is arising and passing. We're simply acknowledging the fact that there is this awareness, this presence, this silence, awareness of every thought that arises and passes. Notice that it's all just thoughts without your consent floating through like clouds in the sky, and keep returning again and again to the fact of being aware of the thoughts rather than being caught up in the content of the thoughts themselves. We're stepping back from any interest in what the thoughts are saying. We're stepping back and not entertaining the thoughts and believing them. And noticing perhaps that when you hear this, that some concern or fear may arise. This is normal, quite common. This is simply the egoic mind's fear of losing control. There's a sense of safety in this conceptual prison that we find ourselves in. And you may be afraid to leave that prison. And see that this concern or fear is just another collection of thoughts. Regardless of whether the thoughts are pleasant, or unpleasant, or fearful, or joyful, simply allowing them all to flow through without becoming identified with them. There's no judgment about the thoughts themselves. In many ways, they're simply trying to protect us, or at least protect the idea of us. The fundamental practice, core practice, is to let go of our fascination and belief in these random thoughts, returning into that which is aware of the thoughts. I can't emphasize that enough. We're tuning in, and I found this very helpful in my practice, tuning into the space between the thoughts, the gaps between the thoughts. We're tuning into the wordless, the silence. And whatever your thoughts have to say about what I'm saying, recognize it's irrelevant, not helpful. Whatever your thoughts may be about this talk, let go of them. And look again and see that prior to these interpretations and judgments, there's the knowing, the awareness. Concerns and fears from the egoic mind will arise, guaranteed, during this kind of intense practice. There will be doubts, there'll be judgments, there's opinions about what I'm saying, and that arise during the practice. And it takes tremendous courage to just let go and let go again and again of the thoughts that arise and the fears about what this practice is all about. I hope you found this video helpful in you letting go and disidentifying from your thoughts. It's such a key part of the practice. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and I really appreciate the subscriptions. And just a reminder that there's a link below to the ebook, the free ebook that I'm offering. It's kind of a comprehensive guide that takes you right from the beginning of mindfulness right to knowing emptiness. Thank you, and see you again soon.